Hey guys, Lucas from iExplore here. Today we're doing a little bit of street photography in Ikebukuro in the rain, a bit of a throwback to one of our earliest videos on the channel. And this video is a throwback in another way. I got my 40mm Voigtländer f2, which is a manual focus lens. So I'm going to do some zone focusing tonight with my Z9. See how that goes. Just to try something different. I don't use this lens that often these days, so I'm excited for this. Of course, if you'd like to support the channel, those of you who do it on Patreon, we're very grateful to you guys, and if you'd like to support us on there, we'd be grateful to you as well. But also, if you come to Tokyo, do a workshop, that's even better. And we also have a map of Tokyo photo spots, so check that out. You can explore Tokyo on your own. There's over 500 spots on the map. It's very cool. We worked hard on it, so at least take a look. Click the link in the description below. Anyway, let's get on to the video.
iExplore.
So, yeah, I got the Voigtländer, the 40 f2 manual focus. I haven't used this lens in a long time. And it's because the Z9 is an autofocus beast, so why would I use a manual focus lens? But I want to experiment with it tonight, and actually already there's some tempting stuff here because there's this guy visible in the window here. Now, I'm not gonna zone focus this shot. A shot like this, even back in the day, I wouldn't zone focus. I would just use the viewfinder and have the camera kind of help me out, because on my D4 I would get a little indicator when whatever's under the focus point is actually in focus or not. So like the camera would still judge focus, it just can't turn the focusing ring automatically. That's the only thing that makes it manual, right? And then but on the Z9, because it's a mirrorless camera with the electronic viewfinder, of course I have focus peaking, so that makes it even easier if I want a manual focus, like properly, like I just did there. Is that a good scene? I don't know. The guy's silhouette is not that good. But what I really want to use this camera for, or this lens for with this camera, is zone focusing, in which case the focus peaking doesn't matter, and it's all about just judging the distance. And I'm going to do this on f2, which is kind of crazy. And the reason I'm doing that is, well, because that's how I used to do it. So let's try this dude right here, this guy in the scooter. Okay, did I get that distance? Not quite. I'm a bit rusty. But I promise you, back in the day, I used to nail this stuff. I was able to, not every single time, of course, but like I'd do a pretty good job of just judging the distance and then stopping at that position and then shooting the photo, at about 4 meters distance and getting people in focus. I think that should be pretty good. Let's keep going. Did I get him? Yeah, that's nice and sharp. There we go. Back in good form. Yeah, the bike was hard. The bike was moving, so that always, and plus there was people in the way. I didn't quite have the framing I wanted. But what I used to do with this is actually hip shooting, because there's no, well, the D4 did have a, D3, D4 did have a live view, but it wasn't really helpful because it kind of slowed things down, and I didn't have a flip out screen, so I couldn't see anything anyway. So I would just shoot from the hip. And I stopped doing that because I didn't like that. I didn't like the idea of shooting from the hip so much, because I do feel like, let's go this way. Because I do feel like, I don't like to be sneaky. I've over the years changed my style, and maybe the photos are a little less dynamic because I'm not shooting that way. But I try to be transparent about what I'm doing. So, let's see here. That's okay. Let's get past this noisy music here. Actually, there's a cool shot. Oh, there's a cool shot here. What I was gonna say is there's condensation everywhere, because it's really humid. The typhoon rolling through the area. Yeah, I mean the focus peaking makes this so easy. Actually, for this shot we go to like f4 maybe. There's a guy in there. That was a little too far and a little too small, I think, to be interesting. So yeah, basically the zone focus was very useful for me when I used to shoot from the hip and try to be a little sneaky, because I was scared. I was scared to, annoy people. I didn't want to shoot from the hip, or shoot in a direct way, because that, people might get angry. And I learned not to do that. Now I just shoot directly, and if people get angry, well, that means that I shouldn't have taken that photo, right? And most people don't get angry, and most people actually are totally cool with it. So I'm still going to use zone focus now, but I'm going to frame by actually looking at the viewfinder and being, honest about what I'm doing, rather than trying to shoot from the hip and be all sneaky like. Now that doesn't mean that I need people to see me. Like if people don't notice, because it just happens, quickly, then it is what it is. But I'm not putting in like effort to be sneaky. You know what I mean? That's my philosophy these days, which is why I've kind of abandoned this way of shooting. So revisiting it right now is interesting. Feels like the good old days, but then see a shot like this where the guy is really far, I don't zone focus, I just shoot normally. Which is exactly what I used to do back in the day. Like, my zone was always 4 meters. So on this lens there is no 4, but I would put the focus point between the 5 and the 3, and I'm on f2, right? But if my subject is not in that zone, if they're a little bit beyond it, I would just manually actually focus it, like I was describing in the beginning, using the indicators in my SLR, and in this camera, just using the focus peaking, or even easier, I can press plus here and just zoom in to the picture and then focus there, right? So I can just zoom that in, right? I think the focus peaking is a little bit misleading because it's showing way more in focus than is in focus. I think it's a little bit too, maybe I have it set that way or something. Maybe it is in focus, I don't know, maybe I should trust it. But okay. It would be nice to get that guy coming out, but I was in the middle of explaining something, but that's all right. He wasn't that cool. Let's see around the back here. So the really devout viewers of the channel will remember this scene from one of our earliest, like in a street vloggy videos. We shot this, I think at the time, if I remember correctly, we were shooting this on Axel's phone. I'm going to use the viewfinder here so I could see better. Oh, I can see the guy in there. But I would rather they come a little closer. Sometimes they come out here and, like, you know, throw noodles at me for taking their photo. I'm just kidding. They come out here to do whatever they need to do. And then, yeah, and they'll make a nice scene, but they seem pretty busy in there. Let me do a vertical version. It's kind of surreal doing this same old photo from back in the day, once again. But, you know, there's actually something interesting about that I want to mention, but hold on, I want to see if I can get this dude. There he is. Ah, yeah, nice. Right, as I said, they come and do something. Now see, in this case, I was just racking the focus, using the focus peaking, blowing it up with the plus button on the back of the screen, and I got it in focus. I mean, that's pretty sharp. I wasn't using the zone because he wasn't in the zone. I only have the one zone, the 4 meter zone. But this photo reminds me, just taking that, of a thought that I've had even recently, like over the last few weeks, and when I do workshops, is that we're gonna cross over there when it turns green. Is that like I repeat myself a lot, and people say this. They say, don't repeat yourself. Don't take the same thing again and again. It kind of, you know, you sort of go retreading the same ground and going in circles. But I don't know. I find it works for me. It doesn't bother me too much. It does bother me a little bit. I'm kind of torn. Let's see here, about 4 meters here. But I think it's okay to revisit the same things because you never know what you're going to discover on a subsequent revisiting of the concept or the location or the scene. But on the other hand, if you already have a great shot from a scene, then like why repeat it, right? And so that's why I'm kind of torn. Where if like I already have a killer shot, then if I repeat it, I'm sort of diluting the value of the good shot, right? By creating more similar shots. I don't know. Does it matter? I have no idea. But I will say this, that for the sake of making fun YouTube videos, I do kind of go to spots that I know are good because I've shot them before. Because I want to show you guys interesting content and interesting scenes, right? If I just go to some area I've never been, not chances are good, but there is a chance that we'll come away with nothing. Okay, hold on. This is where the zone is helpful to focus quickly. I love that yellow light emanating from some like motorbike back there. Okay. Is he in the zone? Maybe. No, that guy was definitely out of the zone. He was too far. I just shot it anyway. So did I get any people in focus here? Close. Yeah, I'm a little rusty with the distance thing. Now, of course, it is a little bit extreme to be using f2 to zone focus, but like I said, I used to do that, and sometimes to great success in terms of nailing the focus. I might even probably should put some of those photos up to demonstrate. But more importantly, I just want to show that it's possible. Like, yes, you're gonna miss more shots by trying to zone focus at f2. But I meet people sometimes. They come on the workshops and they kind of have some doubt. They say, "Oh, Lucas, how can, like they come with manual lenses, people who use Leicas, and I say, yeah, let's zone focus, stick it on an f2 or even bigger, like 1.4 in the middle of the night to get that light in." And they're like, well, really, can you do that? But if you never try, you never learn how to do it. And see, like right there, tack sharp, especially if I adjust my position to get the depth of field correct, because I was shooting kind of at, you know, at an angle to her in the bike, the lady in the bike, and so some of the bike was not in focus, but I think from the side I got everything completely in focus. Let's cross over here. So let me see if I can get this shot real quick. Now I wish she wasn't so close to this machine. Did I get that? Pretty close. Yeah, I just need somebody passing through here. It's like someone's climbing those stairs. And there we go. Ooh. Interesting. Yeah, and I shot a little too early. And it was because the guy came out and I thought, oh, I gotta get this shot now, but they weren't quite at the right distance. Okay, let's try this dude. Much better. Cool. Yeah, but you see, I feel why I've put this lens down. Although this is fun and interesting, it's kind of a hassle. Like, if I just had my AF lens, this camera, and this light, no problem. It would just nail the focus right where I want it, and I wouldn't have to mess with these details. Like with, you know, figuring out how to focus it and get the distance just right. And of course, getting the distance right limits my framing, because maybe I want to be a little farther, right? Which means then I gotta like actually manual focus it and not rely on the distance gauge so much, you know, on my preferred zone. Why did I choose 4 meters, by the way? It's because at 4 meters, the person's pretty big in the frame, but I see all of them. And I like that. I generally like that. I don't like to cut off bits of them. By the way, I'm using it with the FTZ adapter. This is an F-mount lens, so it's mounted, you know, that way. Yeah, this is the guy sitting and smoking. It's gonna be kind of cool though. One second, there might be an interesting concept here. There's like these reflections on the window. Just waiting for somebody. Okay, there we go. Are they in focus? Yes, they are. Did I use my zone? Not quite. See, I adjusted the focus. So it's like if I'm going to manually focus and adjust things, I could just do that with my AF lens, you know? Because like I said, other than zone focusing, which sucks with AF lenses because they don't have a good gauge, but I can do everything else. I can manual focus. I can autofocus. I can just do whatever works in the situation. So I have a lot more versatility and freedom with modern AF lenses, especially a Z lens, because there's no adapter, it's smaller, it couples better. I get more, what do you call that, IBIS, like better IBIS, I believe, on native Z lenses versus FTZ mount adapted lenses like this. Yeah, and the reason I'm going on this kind of tirade about it is not to like bash it or anything. It's just that people ask me sometimes, hey, do you still use your Voigtländer? Do you still have that lens? Do you still like it? And I say, yeah, it's a nice lens. I still like it. It's cool, but like I don't really use it because it's just less practical. I've moved on to more practical things. Now, does that make my photos better? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think necessarily more convenient gear or more practical gear or easier to use gear or higher end gear will help you make better photos. Maybe in my case it makes my photos worse. I don't know, because I shoot more stuff that I normally wouldn't have shot, whereas the constraints of this kind of force me to be creative in certain ways, and then maybe from those constraints, you know, really good creativity rises. I don't know. But it does feel like more painful to use it and less painful to use the new lenses. So I'm having more fun with the modern stuff, so I'm more likely to use it, right? So that's the positive from my perspective, right? That guy standing over there is really cool. Let's see if I can get a shot of him. You look kind of cool. It was cooler when that light was really yellow, but I missed it. And I missed it because I had to manually focus and get the focus correct. So there you go. See, it's a trade-off. It slows things down, and sometimes slow is good, but also it can result in missed shots. And I guess that's overall my philosophy these days, is to make the camera as, let's try to get him like this, make the camera as invisible to me as possible, meaning I have to think the least about it. And manual focus and zone focus actually forces me to focus a bit on the camera. Focus, no pun intended, right? Focus mentally on it. Meaning, if I'm going to zone, I have to be very aware of my distance, which might limit my framing. I might have to frame in ways that I don't want to, just for the sake of the distance. Or if I'm manually focusing, I have to think about that. Whereas with AF, it's much more second nature. I just, it just goes, right? Yeah. But having said all that, kind of throwback, I used to live in this neighborhood, and for a long time with this lens, I would come here in front of Voigtländer station, this long stretch, and just walk back and forth and try to do these quick sort of hip shots of people crossing the street, or walking down the street and stuff, and using this method, this 40 millimeter, 4 meter zone method, right? And I'm going to try that now, just for fun, just to kind of refresh, relive that experience. And I'm kind of checking, I'm checking if I'm doing a good job or not, or if I should adjust my distance. Because like I said, this distance really, you got to kind of internalize it and memorize it and then stick with it. And I haven't done this so much that I'm not so conscious of that distance anymore, like I used to be. Let's see here. So right there I did something interesting. At first I used my zone by stepping back. I don't know if Axel caught that, I'm not sure, but I stepped back because I wanted the subject and I needed to maintain the right distance for that zone, right? But then, as he got a little too close, I didn't want to keep stepping back, I just racked the focus and used the focus peaking to keep up with him. I think both shots were sharp, so that worked out. I keep saying it, but the 3D tracking AF in this camera would have easily dealt with that, and I wouldn't have had to have that headache that, of doing it all myself. Now, is that a headache? For me, I'm calling that a headache. For somebody else, that might be part of the fun, right? All right, let's see here, more people crossing the street. Cool people. Want somebody interesting. These guys are cool. Yeah, and I think I'm shooting a little too early. I'm letting them be too far away. I gotta let them get closer. Yeah, I'm being a little bit too, keeping them at arm's length a little too much. Ah, there we go. That's a nice one. There we go. I'm kind of recalibrating my brain a little bit. All right, let's keep going. Let's walk down the street a little bit. Now, also, there's something to consider is that when I was doing zone focusing, Axel's going left and right. When I was doing this back in the day, AF systems weren't quite as good. So my D3, had good AF, but nothing like the Z9 does. So AF would more often miss shots, so it was worth messing with zone and getting it, because I could get it pretty consistent. And by judging by judging the distance, I just get the shot I want. You don't miss anything once you get used to this, right? So there was that kind of reliability factor, especially in low light, which is why I got pretty comfortable doing this wide open, because I was shooting often in situations like this, and especially while moving. So while I'm moving. And then one last thing, because I didn't have the flip out screen, I didn't have all this stuff, if I'm walking along, if I didn't want to do a hip shot, I would have to bring the camera up, find the subject, focus on them, all that stuff. That takes time. Whereas zone focus, if you do get the distance correct, well, it's instant, right? It's instant. There is no delay. Oh, that guy was lining up a second ago, and that was really cool. But okay, whatever. I got him. I'm gonna get him again. Let's see here. Yeah, of course, in this situation, the challenge is that there's a lot going on. It's busy. There's a lot of people. It's pretty nice. I did nail it there. I am getting used to the zone. I'm getting it back. I'm figuring out where I gotta be. I was being a little bit too far in many of those earlier shots and kind of realizing you gotta be a little closer. 4 meters isn't as far as I thought. No. Although I do like this reflection above this lady. I'm oscillating between the 500th and 100th. So when things are stationary, I'm doing 100th to keep my ISO low. But when things are moving, I'm at a 500th. Sumimasen. And I'm just doing that. I'm just doing that with the, in manual mode and just changing the shutter speed. And you see, there's you can see why I like shooting around here. It's very active. People are having a good time. They're a little bit tipsy tonight, everybody, because it's Friday. I'm sure people are just finished drinking. That lady was cool. She had cool fashion, but I missed it. It's okay. On the other hand, just because someone has cool fashion doesn't mean you have a good photo. Cool fashion on its own doesn't do it. She was just walking along. I'd rather have someone in just whatever fashion, but expressing some kind of emotion or a mood. That's much more important. Try to get this lady parked here on the side next to the kiosk. Such a chaotic environment and situation to be shooting in. One thing I used to do also with this lens, which I'm not really doing right now, is just find a framing and a position and wait, and of course let people come through, right? Usually holding it just like this. I would just stand in there like that and just know my frame. I know that from this thing to that thing is where my frame is, whatever those reference points are. And then I would just, when people walk through into the zone, I would shoot. It's a very effective way to do it. But now I'm kind of moving around, trying to be more dynamic. It's not bad. Yeah, nice. Nailed that one. And again, with an adjustment, I got one, and then he got closer, so I kind of took some steps back to keep our distance between us the same. All right, very nice. Yeah, and then one last little comment. It doesn't have to be perfectly nailed in terms of distance. I mean, if your subject is slightly out of focus, a little bit out of the DOF, it's okay. I mean, I have some photos like that I regret I didn't get better focus, but who cares? There's a great moment, and I think it still makes a great photo, and it gets a good reaction out of people. People like those photos, despite a slight lack of sharpness or whatever. All right, guys, so there you have it. That's the 40mm f2 from Voigtländer. It's like a 10-year-old lens on my Z9. Doing zone focus, wide open. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you guys do zone focus? And I'll catch you guys in the next video. And remember always, challenge your eye. Oh, you're still here. Well, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That really helps us out, with the algorithm. But since you're here, I want to remind you guys the different ways you can support this channel. The best one being coming to Tokyo or Kyoto and taking a workshop with us, or me or one of the other guys on the team. That's a huge help. Of course, we have some other things that we offer. For example, you can purchase a map of Tokyo photo spots. Currently, there are over 500 locations on the map, useful for planning your trip in Tokyo or exploring the city. Also, I do have a book out called Tokyo Unseen, so please check that out. And I do sell prints, so if you'd like one of my photos as a print, check that out as well. But last but not least, there is Patreon. Those of you who support us on Patreon, we're extremely grateful, and anybody who's thinking about it, we'd really appreciate that. That is another way to get access to the photo spot map. All right. And last little tiny thing, there are referral links to all the gear and stuff that we use in the videos, so just clicking on those links helps us out as well. And of course, all the other things I mentioned are also linked in the description. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching to the end, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.